Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. That's Daisy Eagan.
Before we get to our amazing guest,
yes,
I just want to say, for those of you in New York, if you guys could do me the good favor of taking pictures in Times Square of the Batman, or I guess it's not. I guess okay. So the Batman movie that's coming out called Rise, or Rise from the whatever the hell it's called. There's this, I guess, a thing going around on the social media sites of all the banners that are in Times Square, and it's got like Batman and Catwoman and whoever the villain is, and they all say Rise, and somebody's photoshopped Elaine Stritch's face into all of them.
What?
Yeah. So you just look at it and you think, Rise! So if you're in the Times Square area, maybe take a quick pic and send it to us.
Maybe David can do that for
I mean,
you.
it won't have Elaine Stritch on it, but it'll make me laugh anyway.
Right.
Rise! All right.
That's a guest we need to get on the show. Elaine Stritch. Love it. But we have with us today, and by the way, if you have any questions for our guest, David Ruttura, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. And as I was saying, we have with us David Ruttura. Hey, David.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to be here.
We're excited to have
you.
you.
Here in New York, on the phone with you guys.
Here virtually.
Virtually, yes, exactly.
Well, David has a long and storied career for being such a young man on Broadway. He has been associate and assistant director in many shows, and one project that he's working on right now is being the director in residence of Spider-Man on Broadway. How is everything going with that, David?
It's going really, really well. We're very busy. We're sort of, I don't know if you guys have seen, but Patrick Page is leaving our show, and so we're in rehearsals now with his replacement, and a bunch of, the cast has been working on the show for 2 years, so it's sort of about that time.
Is Luther Creek still in the show?
I'm sorry?
Is Luther Creek still in the show?
Yes, Luther is still in the show.
Please tell him I said hi.
Oh, I will.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. He's wonderful.
Yes.
And so, we're having a lot of turnover right now. So we're very busy in rehearsals and putting in new cast members, which is exciting and fun. And then sort of the really exciting part of my job is getting to rehearse new people.
So who do you have coming in?
We have, oh God, now you're asking me to remember all their names.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I know. Hold on. I don't want to screw up their names. I honestly cannot remember their last names right now.
That's
but we
all right.
have somebody named Brett, someone named Ashley, and someone named India.
India?
Yes.
Nice.
Who's actually an LA native. And let me see if I can pull up their last names. I just met them. They just started this week, and because they're in the ensemble, I actually haven't been working with them too closely yet. But let me see if I can get that for you.
I can't even imagine what it must be like to get that phone call. Hey, you are in the ensemble of Spider-Man on Broadway.
Yeah. I think it's pretty incredible for them. And our show is so intense and huge that they work really hard all night. And so it's an intense gig all around.
How is the mood there these days? I mean, we should probably mention the white elephant in the room. Obviously for people who might not be familiar, there was some scandal around the show with the director and a replacement and technical difficulties.
Yeah. I actually just started in January, so I sort of missed all of the sort of lead up. The lawsuits and things sort of started around when I started. But, this cast and crew, we have an incredible stage management team on this show. There are 7 of them. It's huge.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Because they've been under a microscope from day one of rehearsal, I think that they, and unfortunately I wasn't there to sort of see this happen, or fortunately, but, they are so bonded and they are so close and so tight. And this sort of, that stuff really stays out of the building.
Oh, that's great.
They're here to do their jobs. They are professionals. They're all really good friends. And that stuff stays out, for the most part. I mean, pretty much entirely. Like it does not affect what's going on every day at the Foxwoods,
Oh,
which
that's
is actually
great.
really special. This is a really, really special cast. I've worked on a lot of shows, and this, it's interesting when you work on Broadway. In a way, the company is not as close as if you're on the road or if you're out of town.
Yeah.
Because you have your life in New York, so you don't have to hang out with your castmates every day. But this company, I think, also because they were in tech for an extremely long period of time. I think it was like between 6 and 9 months.
Oh my God.
So, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So but they're bonded in a way
Yeah.
that Broadway casts usually aren't.
Yeah.
And they're extremely supportive of each other. It's just a really, really great group.
And in spite of the issues with the show, they're bonded in a way that no other cast on Broadway is bonded right now. I think that's really special.
I would say that is the case. Yeah, in spite of all of that. Yeah.
Is the show going to tour? Is it possible for the show to tour?
There is talk. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. There's a lot of discussion about other sit-down companies, but I don't know. None of that is finalized yet, and there's very little details that they sort of give us.
I would imagine
but there
that
are plans.
the people in Vegas are chomping at the bit.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are. I can't imagine they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So that stuff. I'm sure that somebody higher up than I am is talking a lot about that. They're definitely planning something at some point.
What do you think makes Spider-Man on Broadway different from other shows that you might see when you go down to Broadway? Why should someone see Spider-Man rather than another show?
I think that there are a lot of reasons. I think our show, for one thing, has a score by U2, so it's a pop score. It's a pop rock score, which is different than there are other pop rock scores on Broadway, but this is specifically
But
U2,
not
and
written by
really,
U2.
Right, yeah. And so there's that specific sound. But also our show is an event. Even more so than a regular Broadway show, which is also an event. Our show is an actual event. It's just huge, and the flying is so exciting, and and our set does all sorts of crazy things. And then deep with it, and sort of popping out of all of that, there's an incredible heart. We all know the story of Spider-Man, and our show sort of embodies that same spirit. It's the great mantra of the show is, with great power comes great responsibility, and so our show sort of embodies that as well. And I think that's really why that was sort of heady, but I think that's really what audiences sort of go away with when they leave the show, feeling really good. We saw this amazing spectacle. At the end of the day, there's a real heart there.
Yeah, I would imagine there has to be a real story there in order to keep it going. It can't just keep going on spectacle. So it's obviously got heart.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, if you have any questions for our guest, director in residence of Spider-Man on Broadway and creator of Dick Punch, David Ruttura, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. That's 1-800-336-2225, and say hi to our engineer, Mr. Paul Madrid.
Dick Punch is quite a thing to end on.
We'll be back on La La Land with Brett and Daisy on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. That's Daisy Eagan. We're joined today by director in residence of Spider-Man on Broadway and creator of Dick Punch, Mr. David Ruttura. If you have any questions for David, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. And David, you have a web series right now called Dick Punch.
I do. I didn't actually create it. My good friend Ian McQuesty, who's our writer and also one of the stars, did. But I appreciate getting the credit.
The director of Dick Punch, I should say that.
I'm the director and producer. One of the producers, yeah.
So will you give us a quick synopsis for those audience members who aren't familiar?
Oh, sure. Dick Punch is sort of it's a broad comedy, sort of in the vein of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's kind of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia meets Wayne's World meets Breaking Bad. It's sort of like this really weird, sort of dark comedy. It follows these two brothers who are overeducated and underemployed. They live in their mother's brownstone. They have an apartment, and one day they're sort of creating this project for her, and they run up to her apartment, and she's gone. And without telling them, they find a note from her that says, basically, you guys are huge disappointments. I've moved to Florida. You have a month to get a job, or I'm kicking you out and selling the brownstone. And so they sort of go into this pit of despair and like a 3-day bender. And then, as they come up for air, realize that the most logical thing to do would be to create the ultimate multimedia company and take the entertainment world by storm.
Naturally,
of course. And
Nice.
so that they sort of were influenced by Tom Brady, the quarterback from the New England Patriots. They have an autobiography that he's written called I Throw the Football, a book about me. And somehow they deduced that that's what he would want them to do. And so the series just sort of follows them. They obviously have no practical skills and are incapable of doing this. So the series sort of follows them trying to create this company, but being distracted by zany characters like a stripper and a fundamentalist Mormon and, Yeah.
I love that on the website there's just like a whole thing dedicated to Tom Brady. That just makes me so
Tom
happy.
Brady's autobiography as a blog.
Are you going to have Tom Brady do a guest appearance on one of the episodes?
We're trying to avoid getting sued by Tom Brady.
All right, maybe not.
We would love it if Tom Brady is listening to this. We would love him to do it. That would completely seal the deal on a second season.
It sure would.
Are you listening, Tom?
So Jan Maxwell's in the show, and from what I saw, she never. Well, I don't know if you want me to reveal that.
Oh, you can.
Okay, so do we never actually see her?
The mom?
Yeah.
No, you never actually see her. That's actually the voice of Jan Maxwell, who was just nominated for a Tony in Follies. Yeah, no, you never see her because she's vanished. She's moved to Florida. So at this point, I mean, maybe down the line, maybe in the second season, she'll make an appearance, but she does not appear in the first season.
I like it. It's very Oedipal.
Oh, good. Good, I'm glad.
Make sure you follow them on Twitter, too, at Dick Punch TV.
And where did the title come from?
Ian McQuetty, who again wrote it, and it was all his idea, and is plays Ian in the series. He I don't know exactly where the title came. It always felt like the right energy for it. It started as a full-length play, which was not very good, and then he gradually he actually pared it down in a couple of ways. First, he had written it as a 23-minute sitcom, and did a reading of that, and it still didn't quite work. And then he sort of found like the pocket for it was in this 10-minute sort of quick shot. And I think that it's just the whole energy of the series is really just like a dick punch. Like, there's no way to. We went back and forth about the title. Like, is it too much? Should we just call it Brothers? Like, would that get more recognition? Are people going to feel uncomfortable? But then nothing felt as good as Dick Punch. There's only one actual Dick Punch in the series.
That is an unforgettable name. I think it's a fantastic title.
Yeah.
You could have also done Dick Brothers.
That's true.
That would be a completely different show.
Yeah, that's true too. It was a little bit porny.
Yeah.
How is Appetite Online involved, David?
They are not involved. We don't know them at all, but they have been huge supporters. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, you guys probably know, too, the Internet is a funny, funny place, isn't it? And
it sure is.
We've been working really hard to try to, get the word out about the series, and Appetite I think he's based in Canada. It's a great site, appetiteon.com. If you want to check it out, I think it's all over our Twitter feed too, because they review every episode. But we don't know him. We met him on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
And he reviewed the first episode and loved it. And
we're gonna have to take a quick break, but so hold that thought.
We'll be back on La La Land with Brett and Daisy on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I am Brett Chapin. That's Daisy Eagan. We're talking with our director-in-residence of Spider-Man on Broadway and director of Dick Punch, Mr. David Ruttura. If you have any questions for David, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. And David, you have quite a history. You received your BA in directing at Fordham University, and you've done a lot of work. I wanted to ask you about a couple of things that you worked on that are
Sure.
pretty cool. You were the assistant director for $1 Million Quartet at Broadway Across
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
How did you enjoy working on that project? That's for those that don't know. If you could maybe explain who the $1 Million Quartet
Well,
is.
and also,
too.
what is Broadway for America?
Across America?
Well, Broadway Across America. Well, I'll just start with Broadway Across America is actually who produced it. They're a producing organization. They're really a large producing organization, and they actually own a bunch of theaters across the U.S., which I guess
cool.
is why they're called Broadway Across America. But they were one of the lead producers on $1 Million Quartet. $1 Million Quartet is it's Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Elvis Presley, and Johnny Cash. And there was an actual. They were all recording artists under Sun Records, which a guy named Sam Phillips ran. And one night he sort of arranged, sort of happenstance. It wasn't exactly like call them up on the phone, but they all happened to end up in the studio together at the same time. And and it sort of became legendary. And Sam Phillips, our show doesn't really address this part of it, but Sam Phillips was ever a brilliant marketer. And so once he realized they were all coming in the studio, he called up a press outlet, and they took a picture of it. And there's a very famous picture of all of them sitting around a piano.
Oh, nice.
That is very well featured in our show.
Mm-hmm.
And so our show just sort of chronicles all of their, how Sam Phillips found them all, like how their growth. I mean, it was a weird time because Elvis had just hit it big and had actually left Sun Records. And Jerry Lee Lewis was just signed and was actually playing backup, just playing keys on a Carl Perkins record that he was recording that day. And Carl Perkins was who actually wrote Blue Suede Shoes, was sort of on the outs. As Elvis sort of rose, Carl Perkins went away. And then Johnny Cash sort of shows up, and he's his own beast.
Yeah.
So the show sort of chronicles all of their sort of origin stories, and then there's a very dramatic conclusion. Just how they're all about to leave Sun Records, and so that's sort of where the story goes, and how that affects Sam Phillips.
What a fantastic story and a creative storyline. I love that plot.
Yeah,
and a really successful show.
Yes.
It has been very successful. We started on Broadway. They actually started in Chicago. I didn't work on the show when they were in Chicago, but then when they moved to Broadway, I came on assisting Eric Schaefer, who's the artistic director of the Signature Theater in D.C. Mm-hmm. So we put it up on Broadway, which was very much a new production from the one in Chicago, and then we set a tour. Which is still out, and I think that they're going to Japan now. I think that's their next stop.
Oh, wow.
And then the Broadway production closed and moved off Broadway, and now that and it was there for about 6 or 8 months, and now that production has closed. But the tour is still going strong.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what about you? You had the chance to work at the Kennedy Center. You assistant directed at Follies.
Yeah, I was the assistant director. I was the associate director of Follies at the Kennedy Center. Also with Eric Schaefer, who directed $1 Million Quartet. So he sort of brought me there as well.
Can you, for our audience, explain the difference between an associate director, assistant director?
Honestly, it's semantics, and part of it is it really just depends on the person. Like there are some assistants who just get coffee. Like I'm and sort of why I get the associate title sometimes, because I'm much more involved in the creative process in terms of, I'm not making total decisions, but like I am working very closely with the director and involved in all of the creative decisions and sort of having input there. And so that's sort of the difference. It's just a matter of how involved you are in the process. And actually, and in reality, the assistant associate thing is really something that just comes with age. It's like a promotion. Like my job, because of the way that I work with the people that I work for, didn't change all that much. But for some people it would. And, and when you're an associate too, like you're more apt to be doing the understudy rehearsals, like during the rehearsal process and sort of during previews and making sure that they're up to speed, and stuff like that. So there are slight differences.
But with Follies, you said you were the associate director. How did you enjoy working on Follies at the Kennedy Center?
It was terrific at the Kennedy Center. It was a real, that show is a real challenge.
Yes.
And it's a really tough Sondheim show, and it was really exciting to sort of work with all these amazing, Bernadette Peters was in it, and Ron Raines, and Danny Burstein, and Jen Maxwell, and at that point Linda Lavin was in it. I mean, there were all these amazing performers, and we had an incredible team too. Eric Schaefer and Warren Carlyle choreographed it. And it was really exciting to sort of navigate that show and figure out what's the best way to tell the story, because it's tough. It's everybody, it's a lot of unhappy people sort of continue, sort of reliving their past through rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah, it's not an easy script.
It's not. It's not at all. And Bobby Goldman, who is the widow of Jim Goldman, who wrote the book, was with us a lot, and sort of we were working with a sort of reduced script that they actually created for the Encores Festival, not festival, the Encores series at City Center, so we were sort of dealing with this new script as well, and sort of figuring out, what story needs to be told. So it was a pretty intensive process in DC, and we learned a tremendous amount there, and the Kennedy Center is an incredible organization. They're just, it's like such a machine there, and everyone is so capable, and it's very easy there. And then we shortly thereafter it was announced for Broadway, and we went back into rehearsal and learned a lot more.
Wow.
It's a fantastic show.
I loved it. I saw it out here. I really I was bowled over by it.
Absolutely. Guys, we'll be back with David Ruttura, Broadway's David Ruttura, right here on La La Land with Brett and Daisy on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. That's Daisy Eagan. We're talking with Broadway's David Ruttura. If you have any questions for David, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. That's 1-800-336-2225.
David, what do you have coming up? Anything that we should be keeping our eyes out for?
Yeah, sure. I have a new musical that I'm working on called Hot Mess in Manhattan, which is actually sort of a friend of mine named Kate Doyle had a cabaret for many years where she sort of explored like a one girl's struggle in New York City, realizing that Carrie Bradshaw was a lie. And so what had happened was, as she was doing this cabaret, she had asked all of these amazing young composers to write one song based on certain situations that she either found herself in or, was part of this trying to figure out how to live in New York.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I just got so jealous.
Yeah, so she had, and this was a couple of years ago, so like this was, I don't know how much you guys know of like people like Adam Guan and Ryan Scott Oliver and Kerrigan and Loudermilk. So all of these really amazing up and coming composers were like hungry to write songs for her. So suddenly she had these 12 songs, and it was always sort of a dream of hers to turn the cabaret show into a full book musical. And so she and her sister wrote a book for it, sort of bridging the stories of all these songs, which always sort of had a through line. It was just like putting words between the songs. And so basically we're doing a developmental workshop under the this program called the Iraka Project, which is sort of a festival of new plays. There are only six plays within that, and us, we're a musical, obviously. And we're doing that at the end of August. Our first performance is August 31st, and it's at the ATA Theater, which is on 54th Street. But, all the information for that will be on the website hotmessinmanhattan.com.
Awesome.
So that's my next big project.
Hotmessinmanhattan.com. Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a personal website?
I do. It's not that exciting. It's davidruttura.com, but the best website to go to right now is dickpunch.tv, which is the web series website.
And of course,
so you can sort of see it. My website is, I just don't update it, honestly.
I'm the same way with mine.
What?
I'm the same way with mine. It's like latest news, and it's from January.
Exactly. I think mine is from like February 2009. It's just, but I mean, if someone was interested, like my resume is up there and ways to contact me if anybody has any questions or things like that.
And we can follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at David Ruttura, Ruttura.
And you can also follow Spider-Man on Broadway at Spidey on BWAY.
Yep.
And is there a Dick Punch
I'm on
Twitter?
Facebook too.
Oh my God, we're just dominating the media.
Seriously, we're everywhere.
And I wanted to ask you too, real quick, about something that you've worked on in the past. NewMusicalTheater.com. They do sheet music for new composers.
Yeah, NewMusicalTheater.com was Brian Loudermilk and Kate Kerrigan, who are composers in their own right, sort of saw this opportunity. They had all these composer friends, and everyone was writing these songs, and people were really interested in them, but it was really hard for them to publish them. So they created a website called NewMusicalTheater.com, and sort of gathered all of these up-and-coming composers and had them write out the sheet music and then posted them online for people to buy. And it's been, as far as I know, it's been very, very successful.
NewMusicalTheater.com?
NewMusicalTheater.com.
Awesome. It sounds like you're a real proponent for new artists, David, like we are on La La Land.
Yeah, I'm very much, especially, it's also partially my age, because I am still a new artist.
Sure.
But no, I think that it's so valuable to, I have a theater company called Good Company that is the producing organization for Dick Punch that, we're still trying to find our footing, but, it's dedicated to telling stories by young and emerging artists, and it's sort of both theater and new media, and we're just sort of exploring where new artists can find their voice and sort of get an audience at the same time.
It's a tough time, and I think the more support we have for that kind of thing, the better. It's really, we've all become so desensitized.
Absolutely.
That it's, it's really important for us to ask, why are we saying what we're saying, and what do we need to say? Exactly.
Yeah, totally. And it's, it's also an exciting time. The internet is a really, for all artists, and not just, for theater artists, for anybody, it's a whole nother level to getting your work out there. Mm-hmm. And web series, you can often feel like a very small fish in a very big ocean. But at the end of the day, you're getting work out there. And I think that's what and you can do that cheaply as a young artist. You can do it cheaply. And even in New York, there's still ways to put on a show for not too much money.
There's so many
but,
new ways.
That sort of is what stands in the way for a lot of young, really talented artists is getting the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use the tools. Use social media, Facebook, Twitter, your iPhone.
And the Good Company.
Yeah.
And David Ruttura, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, no, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's been great virtually meeting you.
Yes, likewise.
And hopefully we'll be able to actually meet at some point.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, come back and join us anytime, David.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Find out any information about David at davidruttura.com, DAVIDRUTTURA.com. We'll be back on La La Land with Brett and Daisy on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I am Brett Chapin. That's Daisy Eagan. Guys, we got done talking with Broadway's David Ruttura, and I don't want to hear anybody say that social media isn't good for promotion, because just let it be known that we did get him through tweeting him on Twitter.
You never know what you can get when you tweet.
I know. We tweeted, and we were lucky enough to talk to the director in residence of Spider-Man on Broadway and the director of Dick Punch. Not too bad, huh?
Pretty great.
All right, Daisy. The floor is yours.
So for those of you who don't know, this is unfortunately my last show. here at La La Land. It was a very, very difficult decision for me to make. But unfortunately, not unfortunately, I have a lot of other projects going on. But unfortunately, it meant that I just couldn't. Something had to be sacrificed, and unfortunately, this was what it was. And I'm sad about it because it's been fun, and I've had a good time doing it, and it's been an interesting experience and certainly a learning experience for me. But yeah, I just have so many projects, and I'm trying to write a book, and it gets to the end of the week, and I've run out of time, and there's only so many hours in the day.
Well, it's been a fun road. We've had you for about 20 or so episodes now, and I was watching your very first episode the other day. It's very cool where we were 5 months ago and where we've gotten to. We've gotten the opportunity to talk to some amazing artists.
Yep, we certainly have.
And
I would encourage the listeners to keep on listening because it's a great show and
contributing to our Indiegogo account and stuff like that.
Yes.
And for you, you're a very talented actress, and I know that anything that you touch in the future is going to turn to gold, as it always does.
I hope so. Thank you.
I wish you the best of luck, and I know this isn't the last time I'm going to see you. We're going to remain buddies, so that's very cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you've got some exciting ideas for the future of the show that I'm sure you'll be tweeting about.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go with a couple of guest co-hosts in the next couple of weeks, and then I think I may have a plan, but I wanna think about that, consider it more, and talk about that in the next couple of weeks with our audience.
That sounds fair.
Yeah. So what happens, Paul? Do we have a minute and 20 seconds or 20 seconds? Because the clock is counting down, but I don't hear the music. So
well, that's because it's counting down from what was before. We're still waiting for the countdown of the theme music.
Perfect. So we've got a minute and 30 seconds, something like that.
We have 5,500.
Right now we have 90 seconds.
Okay.
There you go, 90 seconds. Perfect. Killing some time on La La Land. Guys, if you want to find us on Facebook, facebook.com, La La Land Talk, twitter.com, La La Land Talk.
And if you want to find out more about me, you can do that as well, daisyeagan.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Daisy Eagan. Just please be over 18. I'm not very polite.
Right.
And of course, I'm on Facebook. And like that. And in bookstores near you very soon.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Next week, guys, on La La Land, we are going to be talking to the very talented producers, Emily Matheson and Nick Stelzer. They are commercial producers and a very talented team, as well as Disney's Juliana Hanson making her second appearance here on La La Land. She's got some exciting projects coming up, so we're looking forward to hearing all about that.
Nice.
Guys, you can check out our archives. We have archives from the last 70 episodes at crntalk.com/lalaland, and you can feel free to send us an email at lalalandtalk@gmail.com.
And also there are videos up on Facebook as well, right?
Yes, every one of our episodes is posted on Twitter and Facebook.
Go to the Facebook page and like it!
Like it. Until next week, I'm Brett Chapin. That's Daisy Eagan. This is La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. We'll see you at the top.